Yo! Video games.
What up, dudes, and welcome back to the YoVideogames podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Andrew.
And we have a guest this week.
Hello,
It's
I'm Miko B, special guest.
And this is part 2 of the Xenoblade Lorecast.
Yeah, we're going with Act 2. We're now kind of in the present. So I recently found out that there's millions of years between games.
Well, between last episode and this episode.
Yeah, there's now. Yeah, okay. Because some of the things we're going to talk about. Let's a very gentle recap. Klaus turned on the machine. He created a new universe.
Yeah,
and ripped himself in half. And there's only like 2 survivors, and one of the cores has survived. So if you've just recently listened, you'll know what that means. If you haven't, you're gonna have to check out the first episode to get there. But before we get into that, we've got a patron to thank. Our dude of the week is Oxer. If you're interested in becoming a patron at any level, please check out patreon.com/YoVideogames podcast. And jumping right into this, I know that I'm going to have lots of little questions because so last episode you gave me like the most paint by numbers, like here's the stuff you got to read. This episode though it's harder to do that.
Yeah,
it's way harder to do that,
right? So, because this is the point where now we're covering a game, and the games are never told linearly.
Right.
Like they always have flashbacks and like info dumps from things happening before. So when you research, say, Zanza or Maineth, it's like, well, okay, they're this character and they do this thing, but before that, they also were this thing. So it's
right.
Yeah, chronologically, it's like these are the events that technically tie all of these games together. But chronologically, when you try to sit down and break down the order that things happen and you really start to think about it, it starts to come like kind of like mind-numbing, trying to like, wait, so did this happen before this or after this? Because most of these details, I mean, we see the moment that Klaus essentially splits the world, but in terms of like how the worlds are then created, the actions that they do, we only see like very loose bits of it. Most of it is told through like exposition and like describing of how this happened, and it's sort of left up to us at this point to try to piece. Okay, so this is the thing that happened first, and then we got to this point that led to this point that led to this point that eventually then leads to the main story for the next game, you know?
And we're going to be covering Xenoblade 1.
Today is Xenoblade 1. Yes.
And I'm going to do my best to like pick connective points because you guys have the you guys have the whole picture, and there's going to be things where you're gonna think this is obvious, and so
I want to be fair and honest about this, and this is probably the fuzziest of the 3 because it's the oldest game, even though there was a definitive edition. It's this one is like the hardest for me to remember, like just pull out of my memory bank, like okay, yeah, this is the chronology of Xenoblade 1,
right?
One's also like
2000
20 well, it came out in Japan in 2010, Europe in 2011, America in 2012.
Oh right, but like the Xenosaga and Xeno, like those other
Gears came out in 98. Saga was 2001,
right? Okay,
to 2006. Yeah, and this started 2010.
And I'll clarify again that those games are essentially the same story trying to be told. This creator has gone to several companies. So while they're not technically the same, they can inform and fill in. There's a reason why no one has. Well, there's a reason why we took so long to do a Lorecast on this. This is more confusing than like 14th century European bullshit.
No, well, it depends on how many countries are you covering in the 14th century.
Touche.
Thankfully, the Gears and Saga, it's like, if you know about them, it's like it's cool, it's nice, but it isn't absolutely necessary. It's almost like there are Easter eggs like placed throughout the series that reference that, and you're like, oh, that's cool. But is it like, dude, I have to go back and play Gears and Saga to understand the story
Yeah.
of Blade. That's not the case. Thankfully,
Okay.
like and that's why that this is in a lot of ways. People ask, well, why don't we remake those games? Because in a lot of ways, Blade is a remake of this original story, told in a way that thankfully doesn't suck nearly as much.
Clears it all up. Yeah.
And it finishes. It actually,
Yes, it has an end.
It
an
actually
actual,
it
like,
got from
conclusion.
beginning to end, unlike the other free series. Gears.
Flip
and
that
Saga.
chat, Max or Max. Matt loves it when you finish.
I have no comment on that one, but yes. Again, so where we are with Blade was early 20th century, early 21st century Earth. Archaeologists find a machine in Kenya. Well, they find it in Africa. I don't think the model kit Nico's going to build for me today.
No, don't make me do it. No.
I think it just said lake bed in Africa. I don't think it specified Kenya, but it was Kenya and Xenosaga, and since it's the same basic, we're gonna say Kenya. Why is it Kenya? Because that's where Lucy is from, actually. Just as sort of, I believe Lucy was from Kenya or near Kenya.
I mentioned my wife would know absolutely. She wanted to get Lucy's bones as a tattoo.
Nice.
Yeah, she's a real archaeology nerd. But last episode, I said that Kenya was the nation that never got conquered. The kingdom
Wasn't it Ethiopia or something?
Ethiopia. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's Ethiopia, which is doubly cool when you realize that most people think Ethiopia is still, in a famine like it was 30 or 40 years ago. Not the case. They've got like a tech hub and all sorts of shit going on in Ethiopia.
Right.
But Ethiopia never been conquered. Cool.
Right. So yeah, in lake bed in Kenya, find a machine. The machine doesn't belong there. It doesn't fit, carbon dating, doesn't make the technology of it doesn't work. The machine siphons energy from some unknown source, another higher dimension, but it solves the energy crisis. Energy crisis gets solved into our near future. They try to form a unified government. That doesn't, it seems great at first. They realize if they turn the machine on to full power, it might cause catastrophic consequences because of infinite energy, and infinite energy cranked up to max. What is that going to do? So they build three surface to low orbit elevators onto a space station up there to keep the conduit safe. This machine they found, and then because a unified government's basically a pipe dream, and ambition leads to pride, and pride
leads to the fall. Yeah. Are you listening, Davos?
Probably leads to fall. Even when they've been granted limitless freedom, even having built themselves the perfect world, humans still desired the beyond.
Yeah, he wanted to I still think he felt that this world was not the way that it should be. It's like we need to create a new one. We need to try again. And I know better. I have the answer that will solve everything.
Yeah, because they
really going to feed into what he becomes.
Right, and there's the whole Saviorite rebellion on, and then they were attacking the tower where the conduit that led up to the conduit, and then the war had basically ravaged the whole planet. The skies were on the verge of being burned, like losing our whole atmosphere entirely. So his plan was just to turn the machine to full power, go to another universe, basically. Or create a new universe himself. A miracle only a god could perform. So he turns on the machine stupidly at a 97% sync rate, and oops,
the entire universe exploded. What do you know?
So f's up the whole planet.
Very important. Oops.
Yeah, ripped up the whole planet. There was an AI-driven processor, Trinity processor, that was regulating the machine. So it was using a 3-core processor that AI was making the commands to regulate the flow of the energy. The energy was called ether, by the way.
Right.
Turns on the machine, basically destroys the planet completely.
And that Trinity processor is quite literally the backbone to this entire series. That affects so many things from this point forward that it's crazy. And it's literally in a lot of ways, it's a Trinity processor. There's 3 games. It's almost like a part of it represents each game to some extent. There's usually a big focus on this core.
The
And
Holy
that's
Trinity.
Yes, and it does this beautiful thing where if you look at the series, it almost sort of returns once you get to the final thing, future redeemed.
Yeah.
It actually almost like returns back, completing this perfect loop. Because Takahashi loves shit like that.
So each game is sort of centered around one of the processors. Does that mean that there's multiple universes, or does each game have
Kind of. Well, the
universe?
second game is about 2 processors, and the first game is about 1.
One.
And then 3 is kind of like about trying to bring it back together.
Okay, well then let's not get lost in the weeds down there. So one of the basically Klaus hits the button, half a Klaus, Galea,
Galea.
Galea, and one of the processors goes to this new universe. Everyone else dies.
Everyone else.
Everyone's dead. Why in particular it is that? I mean, Klaus, I guess it makes some sense because he was the one that triggered this.
He was in the room where they activated it.
Right. And I suppose that Galea was just close enough or something.
Yeah, because she was right there next to him.
Right.
Well, she gets the better end of the deal because he literally is not the man he used to be.
Yeah. Essentially,
she
his
becomes a
psyche
god.
Is split in like a way where and it's interesting because when you get to the next part, the differences between these two different classes that you get, their motivations are completely different.
Well, it's very much a sort of like part of your brain, because that was a thing even in Gears with like there's a character called id, id, ego, super ego.
Okay.
Yeah, this is basically the redoing of that idea, that same idea of the id, the ego, and the super ego, and especially Klaus's ideas, his beliefs, his motivations.
His ego. It's more like the ego side of him.
Yeah, exactly.
When that part of the brain that's just sort of like the narcissistic side.
Mm-hmm.
And this is very much the origin or the birth of the god Zanza.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So
he hits that button and literally a new universe is born, and he's the god at the beginning of it.
So Ontos, Klaus, and Galea get because they're standing right next to the conduit when they open it, when they activate it, they get sucked into a new universe. Everyone else either dies or mutates horribly.
Oh, right, okay, and we're not sure about that yet, right?
Not sure. We'll get there in the next episode. So now, what happens with 1/3 of the processor, or one of the 3 processors, Ontos, and Galea and Klaus, half of Klaus, gets sucked into a new universe. Well, the new universe. Remember how we talked about that energy was ether, right?
Mm-hmm.
So where they go, ether is not immaterial because it is non-solid. It is energy, right? It's just pure energy,
right.
Pure energy in our universe. They go to a place, their universe, that energy is material.
Like you can scoop it up, you can gather it, you can put it in something.
It can be molded into things. Ontos, whose whole purpose in life, he was the arbiter of the other 2 processors who fed him information. He basically is like, well, that's what they do. They regulate the flow of ether. They did for energy purposes, but now this energy can be literally made into physical being. He can make physical matter out of it. Now, what we don't really know is why did Ontos decide that the tool for which to use to shape the ether matter into different bits of matter, why did he make it a thing called the monada? Well, there's the monad. This gets philosophical because have you ever heard the term monad or whatever?
Yeah.
Which is he makes it. There's like this sword or kind of, I don't know what it's a blade, the Xenoblade. It's a sword like object, but it's the tool from which you can basically command the ether on the molecular level to form into this, form into that. Like it's like your anti-life equation. It's
right.
It is the tool by which you control stuff. So
this is the blade Shulk uses in
correct.
Yeah, okay.
Luckily, I mean, the real reason behind why is it a blade is because anime, it's cool. Really, just but in terms of why, like from a perspective of like, well, why? How would that be useful? Like, couldn't there maybe put it into something else that would be I don't know, because a blade is used to cut things, I guess. So why simply did it need to be a sword? not really ever answered.
I think maybe because calling the game Xeno Hammer would have been.
Look,
it just didn't roll off the tongue as well.
It's cool, and that's all I need. And yeah, Xeno 3D printer, not as cool. No matter what the 3D printer nerds tell you.
So Ontos decides I'm going to make this thing called the Monado, which is short term for monad, which you can look up the Greek or not even Greek or Latin.
The Pythagoreans considered it a supreme being. Let me see. I
the monad,
yeah,
the
monad,
right? Because the original name of the game before it was Xenoblade was called Monado, beginning of the world.
Yeah, in computer science, it's a category theory that is an algebraic structure. So I guess it's something to do with computers, maybe the AI.
Well, there's plenty of physical, not physical. What are they? Theorists, whatever, astrophysicists, whatever. They have used how algebraic you can mathematically break down the universe,
right? Yeah, and the monad has a philosophical root, a computer science root, and a biology root. A monad is a simple single-celled organism or a small flagellate, colorless, and amoeboid with 1 to 3 flagella. So basically, it's the beginnings of life. It can also mean
there's a lot of 3Ds here. So he makes there's technically 3 monads in Xenoblade at the end, but he makes a Monado for Zanza, who is the administrator of the computer, right?
Right.
And he gives a Monado to Galea. They basically reform themselves, and they're gods now, and then they have the ability to shape the world. So basically, this gets where it gets a little heady, where it's just kind of you just got sucked into a new universe, and now you have command over the molecular structure of things in this universe. So you're basically a god in a formless universe. So you start.
There's a lot of Matrix-esque things later on where there's a literal Matrix type thing. But this has a very vibe of Matrix influence, right? Where
yeah, I guess a little bit.
He can form this world to his will.
I would say it's more Matrix-like in the way the Wachowskis think of the Matrix, and less how the general public thinks of the Matrix.
Okay.
Because there's tons of philosophy and religious allegorical stuff in Matrix that goes over most people's heads. So I would say it's more influenced in the way Matrix was actually written by its actual authors.
Yeah, with the ideas of reincarnation.
Rather than how it's a digital world, man. People look at it like Digimon or Reboot when it's a little.
How dare you? Reboot is beautiful.
It's actually surprisingly
right. People just kind of think of it it's like you're living
jumping in a video game.
I'm living in the video game world. It's not. It's supposed to be a little more than that. Anyways, so
but Klaus becomes the architect character in a way.
Which is funny you say that.
Yes, actually, that you are not wrong.
So make connections.
That's the next game will be more focused on that. But you essentially get 2 gods. One that represent both the Bionis and the Mechonis. So
one represents biological and one represents computer, technology. So as you just read about the monad there, So
we were actually just talking before the stream about was there a reason specifically why did Zanza represent the Bionis and Galea represent the Mechonis? And we were maybe it was that Galea didn't want to derive so much of what people used to be, while Klaus was more oh well, I want to
so before people get too confused, Klaus in this new universe calls himself Zanza. And Galea calls herself Maineth.
Okay.
So for the purpose forward here, Zanza and Maineth.
And
I don't know how you would feel, Anderson. So I guess you're the other. Would you prefer us to keep calling them Klaus and Galea, or do you want us to go by Zanza Maineth?
No. If we're clear about who they are in the past.
I can say both. I'll just say Klaus, Zanza, Mayneth, Galea.
I almost, well, I don't know. I wouldn't even say they're the same because the problem is Klaus got split too.
True.
He's not actually
Like this.
You wouldn't even say that.
Klaus's brain.
Yeah, it's not. He literally
Okay.
represents the id super ego. He represents the id. Sorry, the id and the ego.
The id and the ego.
Pretty much all of the kind of like crazy parts and like power hungry parts of what Klaus was.
All the narcissism.
All the narcissism, right? That's who Zanza is.
Okay.
So he's almost like, in a lot of ways, almost all the worst parts of what Klaus.
Well, it also makes sense that he would want to be like a god that creates actual life versus, you know, if Malith is it retains her
because all of
computer
Galea
science,
all of Galea as a scientist went to this universe.
For whatever reason, she was not split into. It's just her. That on the other hand is Galea is pretty much just made.
Pushing the button always has consequences.
Yeah,
every time.
So Zanza, Klaus's form of Zanza, he forms himself into a Titan, like a being called the Bionis. Well, that's just the landmass that people call him later on. Anyways, Galea forms herself into a robotic-looking structure, and they fight.
Mechanos.
Called Mechanos, yeah. And they actually fight because it's I don't know if you could call it like a lover's quarrel. You could call it like, what did you do? So they actually like start fighting with their Monados that they've been given.
And they're the size of continents.
Yeah, they're like the size of like the size of continents.
Yeah,
they're massive. They're standing like they form an ocean on a planet, and they come into existence. They form themselves, and they immediately start attacking each other. And they're stuck in a fight for a very long time. And then like Zanza cuts off one of Mayneth's arms.
I think even before that, though. But even before that, I think there was a period where they essentially, because they existed here in this world, they said they were lonely.
True,
so
true. Yeah, I guess we should get to that. Okay.
Yeah.
So before they start fighting necessarily, before they could come to blows necessarily, I can't remember if the come to blows is before.
I think it's after. That's the end. I think.
Right. Okay.
For the time.
So
being.
Zanza, he exists, and Galea exists alone in this world. They're gods, technically. They have power of creation. They're alone. So they start creating life in their image. So Zanza starts creating biological life to exist in this world. And as Ontos says, it's because he was lonely. And what he really like, and what does any narcissist want? Attention. Control. Yeah, people to control it. He wants attention.
Yeah.
And like what he really desired was friendship.
And he wants people to know who he is. He wants people to like worship him. To
and that's kind of like the fucked up part where it's like, oh, he's lonely. He wants friendship, but he also just wants people to worship him. So he just wants the adoration.
Okay.
And so they go through this point where he makes life to honor and worship him, and then over time, people just kind of start forgetting about him. So he freaks out. So he will he starts destroying and restarting literally all life, kind of like on this planet. So he starts doing
religious undertones here.
A little bit, right? So he does a cycle of a destruction and rebirth.
And a lot of what this comes down to as well is that this is also this idea of destruction and restarting is also something that is inherently built into the design of Ontos, I believe, right? Of what his actual admin status is.
Yeah, because Ontos is an arbiter of information. So he and Zanza technically being the administrator of the computer is like, okay, well, this is what we do. We accumulate information, and when he wants to wipe it and restart, this is what we do.
And again, this extends this idea of destruction and restarting. This will extend all the way to the end of the series, and this is actually is a significant enough thing that it will come back again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
So yeah, so they go in. So this is going on. So he's doing like this constant like refreshing of life or whatever. And then at a point, they get to a point where they do come to blows. The reason, well, I actually have to. I feel like I should double check this, but like I think the Titans get frozen and locked before, but I guess that wouldn't really make sense. Anyways, so there comes a point where for a long time, well, I guess getting before that, one of the life forms that Zanz has created, they're called giants, and they're just like 10-foot tall people, right? And initially, during this point in time, the giants who are living on the body of the Bionis, they come in contact with the robotic life form on the Mechonis. And there's like a unity there, kind of thing.
Okay, so
Bionis is a giant continent, and
he's walking around, or he's like just laying there,
standing.
Oh, he's standing. So you have like these super tall continents.
Essentially, they're almost like,
oh shit.
It's a funny idea because they're essentially worlds in themselves, but they're surrounded by this endless ocean of just like, so like, I don't know if we ever truly zoom out to see the world that these guys are on, but you just imagine that you were on a planet with nothing but ocean and these two massive worlds that you can essentially fit like entire colonies and cities of people. Like they're fucking huge. Which again, I was just thought it was interesting because kind of my brain was like thinking about, so I'm just like this big world of ocean. And there's like fucking nothing, and then there's just two huge dudes like on there. So like, what about the rest of the world? Feels like a lot of empty space being used for nothing here, but whatever.
I guess I have questions about how gravity works.
Yeah.
All right, let's figure that away.
The world they're on has a moon, like a singular moon.
Does,
they fashion the globe to be just like Earth, but they don't recreate the continental landships. They're
right. The capital city is on his nipple.
For some reason, they just want to grow people on themselves.
Which I think it's a little more like weird religious, like you're all a part of the body of Christ, kind of thing.
Yeah,
I get that, and I realize I'm being nitpicky about it. It is a fictional world, so I won't get too nitpicky. But like my ideas are in my head, I'm saying like, okay, well, if you live on his shoulders, it's a hell of a lot safer than if you're down here. Like,
it's like that too, because like the lower back is a big swamp. Is real swampy.
Swamp ass.
And he's humanoid, but he's not entirely human. Like he has like things hang
arms. So it's like if he's moving around, the world is just constantly shifting and shaking, and
which he doesn't like from what we it doesn't really move that much. He forms himself, and then it's just sort of kind of like, it's like, have you ever seen that episode of Futurama where Bender's floating in space and like a little colony
worship me,
live on him and worship? It's like that kind of thing.
It's just like an interesting. It reminds me of a mythology, and I can't think of the mythology.
Yeah, right, like you're on the back of a giant turtle walking through space, kind of thing.
Well, yeah, it's like that, but there is a mythology where like we're literally living on the bodies of God, like the celestial beings, like Jupiter is actually the body of a god, and like that kind of thing. And somebody out there is going to know what I'm talking about, hopefully, and they can comment on the YouTube video,
right?
Tweet me or something.
If I had to guess why specifically, why would Zanza, at least specifically Zanza, why would he make it that life would be on him? Probably because they are literally like connected with him so much closer that they will know his presence.
He just wants a fucking hug so bad.
He wants a hug. He wants people to be able to recognize his power and recognize that I am a god of this world.
Yeah, and when people forget about him, he has the Telethia come and wipe out life. And like basically turn back into pure ether. Ether's like a liquid,
right?
Like the natural state in this universe, like ether's like a liquid. And when he wants shit like wiped out, he makes like a sort of like parasite or a cell, like it's like a white blood cell called the Telethia, and they just go and they just morph and blob and turn everyone into liquid.
And specifically though, the ones that are turned into Telethias are
High Entia.
The full-blooded High Entia.
Yeah.
That's what makes, again, when we go, if you think back to Melia, she is not a full-blooded High Entia.
Right, no. We'll get into that, but like before any of that happens, one of the races in this, they don't say how long it goes between cycles. We just know it's a very long time. It's long enough for civilizations to build up, and long enough for these civilizations to build up, go about their histories, and then slowly forget about God.
Yeah.
And then once that happens, he comes and wipes them out, almost like a plague.
So it has to be at least a few thousand years between wipeouts. Yeah.
So during one of these cycles, there's these creatures called giants. They're just big, giant, naked, hairy dudes. And they're in contact with the Machina, which are these robotic figures on Maynath's body, Galea's Maynath's
the life that she decided to create. So
right. And I was like, well, I wonder if she just made everything robotic because she didn't want to. Maybe she didn't feel right creating biological life.
This is an assumption, but it would again sort of tie into the main themes of the game. So sort of
right. So one of the head of the Machina is this character called Egil, and Arglist is this giant on Bionis, and they're friends. And they look up into the night sky. They look at the universe. They look at the stars, and they just kind of wonder about traveling beyond the world, beyond the ocean. And they philosophize. And at some point, Zanza, he needs a new vessel because basically his body breaks down, just whatever the ether structure of him starts to stagnate. So he has to find a new vessel. So he basically shrinks his Monado down to whatever level and finds someone to pick it up, and so that they can become his vessel. And through that vessel, he can then restart everything before he just crumbles into nothingness. So he puts the Monado, shrinks it, puts it down somewhere on his body. And this giant called Arglist finds it, and he picks it up, and then he basically holding it. It basically Zanja's consciousness goes into Arglist, and Arglist decides he's going to restart everything. And I forget why he's so pissed. I don't even know if he has any good reason, but he's basically we need to restart everything. These people don't know me. These people are forgetting me. I need to remind them who they are. And Arglist. Is not Arglist anymore. It becomes Zanza's mind.
He's pretty much just Zanza at that point.
Yeah, he's Zanza at that point. He attacks the capital of the Machina on Maynath's body. And they get into it, and then so the two Titans get into a big old fight. Which I still feel I don't know. Anyway, so they get into a big old fight.
I feel like there are. I believe that is the. It's sort of interesting because I think at that point Zanza is now almost in two places at once. He has an arbiter. He's a person that is representing himself in a smaller form, and he has his own body that is still there.
That's still walking around.
That's still canon.
Yeah. So, anyways,
the two Titans then fight. I believe
they get into a big fight. I think the fight happens before all of this. My understanding is that the beginning of the game where you see them fighting, it's right after they came into that universe. And they have a fight where Bionis, Zanza's big Titan body, is fighting the big Titan body of Maynath.
It might be. That might be the case.
He cuts her arm off in this fight, and then they get in this big thing where they just stab each other, and they get frozen in time. Or they just get frozen from the point where the two are stabbing each other. And that's why Zanza has to inhabit a new body or whatever and do all this other jazz. So the Titans are just kind of the Titan bodies. They're locked. They mortally wounded each other at the start of this unit. And my understanding is they mortally wound each other at the start of the universe.
That would make a lot of sense because that's how the giants essentially make their way over to the Mechanic. So you're probably right.
Right. So
so essentially by doing that, the two sides, the Mechanis and the Bionis, are connected so that they're able to interact with each other, right?
Right.
The people that form.
Because I think this is my understanding. They go to that new universe. They get sucked in, right? Mm-hmm. They find they have the ability to form matter with their Monados. They get into a big fight. Probably Galea has every reason to be pissed at this guy.
Right. Yeah.
So what do you mean?
They get into this big fight, and then their first physical bodies are basically just frozen. Like they just like he cuts her hand off, and then like he just chops her down on the shoulder, and then like and she does this big side swipe. So like like he's like holding like this big sword in his gut here, and like like while his other hand is chopping down into her shoulder, and they're just like these two titans are frozen, and that's when they start doing this. That and I think after that is like all
That's
this time
when life gets created.
yeah. Then he's like I'm frozen and I'm lonely and I want life. So he starts doing this cycle of rebirth.
So his Monado, though, that he uses to create life is stuck in the Mechanis.
Sort of, because it's like a beam sword, and the swords themselves can be shrunk and whatever. Like
Yeah, so I'm understanding what you're saying, but from just like a question.
I think what the better way to put it is they call it that, but it's not the physical. It is just a representation. Like I don't like the actual thing he chops her hand off with and drives into her shoulder. It's not like the physical tool. It's just what he manifested for his Titan form to be holding.
Okay.
Like he manifested a big sword for him to hold.
So the Monado gives them the ability to manifest whatever the hell they want, basically.
Right, because they convert ether into whatever material.
And the representation of that throughout the games usually is a sword.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
So he takes the Monado, puts it on his body somewhere, and this giant called Arglist comes by, he grabs it, and he basically gets possessed by Zanza. So Zanza's like, excellent. I now have a new physical vessel for which I can inhabit and then wield the Monado and use it again. So,
with the goal being to destroy everything and restart it again.
Yeah. So Arglist does this initially because I think the giants are probably the one of, if not the first life forms that they make, this first sentient life forms that spring up on the body of the Bionis.
Yeah.
Like they're the first cycle. And so the first cycle is these giants, and they come across the Mechanis. And at first they're just friendly because Zanza and Mainith were kind of like their bodies, their minds are they're conscious, but their minds are basically they can observe, but they can't do anything. Kind of thing, because like their bodies are kind of fucked, like in that position. So that's why he's like, all right, we'll have like let's have the Monado like shrink down so that this giant can hold it, and then I can possess his body, and then yes, I can then excellent. Then I can.
And I believe Mainith disagreed with that philosophy, the idea that like, well, yeah, of restarting everything, of destroying, and that they were like, and that idea is what brings them back to blows again.
Yeah. So Arglist, the giant who picks up the Monado, he becomes possessed by Zanza. He attacks the capital city where all the robots live and kills a whole bunch of them. And that basically starts more or less like a cycle of war between what's called the Mechanis or the Machina. Well, Machina is the name of the robots. Mechanis is the name of the Titan. The robots,
it's like the Machina are essentially like the robot people to the quote unquote Homs or the giants on the Bionis. So the Machina are the robot people that we've seen throughout the game that come in various shapes and types and things like that. And at this point, we have the giants that represent the Bionises, like the people that live on top.
And so the first game now is the ultimate villain sounds like Arglist.
Arglist is
technically he is the vessel, but with which Zanza has possessed.
Right. Now another race, also sentient race of people with like wings, like they have wings on their head. They basically see what Arglist did and was like, oh shit. So what they do is they basically overpower the dude because he is still just a physical being at this point, even though he does have a very powerful weapon. But they overpower him, they restrain him, they imprison him. They basically like put him in a big tomb, basically call it Prison Island, and they get a hold of the Monado, but like the Monado Zanza's still in the body, the mind is still in Arglist, but Arglist is now restrained and put in a prison. They take the Monado that they found and they put it somewhere else, and they bury it somewhere else on the Bionis. That's what the High Entia do. They're like elves. You can consider them like the elvish race of the Bionis, because they see they saw this whole thing went down where he basically instigated a war with the robots.
And another thing that's, I guess, interesting is that why were the High Entia created? Like, what was their purpose of actually being there?
Right.
So they are meant to be the arbiters of destruction. The
High Entia are the white blood cells, and when they reach a certain point in time, or if they come in high enough concentration of ether, they will morph into Telethia. They mutate, and they become the quote unquote white blood cells of the Bionis, and then just turn everything to goo.
Yeah, they act as the means of destruction, essentially. So that is literally the purpose of the High Entia, that they were created to become these beasts. That is like their end game, right? And they're mindless.
And this is kind of a theme where Zanza keeps making things that turn against him.
Yeah.
he makes creatures that either forget about him or actively fight against him,
that don't want to be what he created them for.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Which is a very common theme in the Xenoblade games and Xeno games in general.
The free will.
Yeah, I'm picking up on some. This guy really didn't have a high opinion of religions generally. So who is the main character of Xenoblade 1?
Shulk. So if we're following along here, Zanza and Maynith form themselves into these Titan bodies after getting sucked into this universe. They were both given a Monado by Alvis. Ontos is the processor's name. He takes to calling himself Alvis in this world. They have a fight. They mortally wound each other. They get frozen. Zanza then basically tries to enact this plan to birth and rebirth life on the Bionis, because
gets spoiled by his own.
He gets spoiled, but he's also lonely and he really desires friendship, kind of thing. And it's this whole fuck up thing there. But anyways, so he does get possessed. He eventually takes possession of a giant named Arglus, who then attacks the robots that Maynith created on her Titan body.
Right.
The High Entia, which were made to be the white blood cells of the Bionis, like basically imprison Arglus and take away his Monado, but you can't destroy it, because you can't. So they just bury it elsewhere on the body, put them in separate locations.
And this is where the game starts.
Technically, but there's also another character that was technically Disciple.
There's another giant. There was another friend giant of Arglus was Dixon. He had a bro who was ride or die with him.
Hell yeah, always do, and his name is always Dixon.
Dixon.
Yeah. So
look, if I'm gonna have a sidekick character that's gonna ride or die with me, to the end of the world, his name gonna be Dixon.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah. So
that's what's up.
That's kind of important, just kind of like later on in the game. But anyways, the weird thing is that Alvis, the processor Ontos that went into that dimension with them, he is following the orders of Zanza. Possibly, probably because he was Klaus was the administrator,
right?
Yeah. He's just, technically that he's just a computer. He has a role to play. He just
goes it through. So he basically follows along with, even though he literally is the one who creates the Monado and gives it to, he creates the tool to shape matter in this universe and gives one to each, and then just follows along with whatever Zanza wants to do.
And he could technically not.
I guess he couldn't if he really wanted to. But here's the thing: his whole point of of Alvis's whole thing is basically to administrate commands and control basically the flow of ether. So as long as these people are kind of just doing their thing, it's like, yeah, that's what I was programmed for. So he's almost like, he's not even really, you can kind of say he's not even taking a side. And this kind of becomes later on where Alvis, by living amongst living beings, his AI starts to evolve or
He begins
adapt.
to almost like develop a self to some extent. He's still, in a lot of ways, he is. It's my opinion. I think he's one of the best like neutral parties of like in any game. Like I love his character because he is like an outsider that is clearly powerful. He could change anything on a whim if he really wants to, but he doesn't really do that. He still bases his decision on the decisions of those around him, on the people that he considers to be admins or represent the system as a whole. But he does, in some ways, push the narrative, lean into things so that maybe this system that we've now developed of death and reincarnation and come back again and again is actually not the same.
And in a weird sort of way, because he calls him, like Alvis calls himself a disciple of Zanza.
Mhm.
And so does his ride or die bro Dixon is also a disciple of Zanza. Because he's right. I think a lot of it is just like he's making sure that the admin doesn't die.
Mm-hmm.
Also.
Well, there is odd connection here between that whole like clockmaker philosophy about God. God is a clockmaker who built the clock and now just watches the clock, doesn't interfere, doesn't.
And that's kind of the way
party
Alvis goes about a lot of things.
Yes.
So there's further religious pondering in there, I guess. I do. So where in this this history that we're now millions of years beyond where where Earth died.
Yeah.
We're in this new world. So is it in the first cycle that Shulk is born?
Oh no, Shulk's many cycles in.
Okay.
Many cycles.
So like the giant gets sealed away thousands, if not millions of years in the past.
Yeah.
Sansa
within this giant is essentially trapped.
Yeah. Or they don't say how long when say like they first formed their bodies and had their big fight and the two titans got locked in combat, and they say like they fought for like endless amount of time.
Long enough that nobody remembers the time where the sky got split in half.
Right. Well,
like long enough.
They're the only living life, like Klaus and Galea are the only life forms in this universe, technically. With Alvis, when they first form themselves.
Oh, right. Yeah. So the fighting didn't happen when things were living on them.
No. At that, okay. I think that's, and that was the thing.
You do though in the cutscene at the very beginning of the game, you do see a couple like enemy creature types like floating around their bodies when they're fighting. You do, but
interesting.
I don't know if that means anything.
So basically Shulk comes along long enough into the future that this is now ancient myth.
Oh yeah, this is super ancient. Everything with Arglist is super ancient. Because so Arglist is put in prison, the Monado is put in a separate area, buried in a separate like tomb. Ontos or Alvis, he
chilling.
He forms himself into a human form, or they call it Homs. Human's not there's no term for human in Xenoblade 1's universe. They call themselves Homs. Homs, Homs. Homs are the humans.
And similarly, Dixon also takes on.
Yeah, and for some reason,
I never really quite understood how that worked.
My guess is just Alvis just reformed him into a Homs. Mm-hmm. And so Alvis forms himself into a Homs, but he is technically a seer. So he goes and works for the royal family of the Hyentia, almost in a way. So like they would be he's just keeping tabs on the Hyentia after they technically imprisoned Zanza in Arglist's body on Prison Island. And Dixon is a Homs, and he goes and lives with the Homs. Humans live on the lower half of Bionis, and the Hyentia live on the upper half.
So Dixon goes to live on the lower half.
Indeed, although even lower than that. But he goes to live as far down as it drags.
Right from the sex nose.
So, and there is a thing in the game where they basically at some point the Hyentia being along like kind of like Elvis, they live very very long lives. Like they live like 500 years or whatever. they don't want to turn into Telethia. They live long enough to know what happens, if they come into like a high enough concentration of pure ether or whatever. They turn into these weird.
Yeah, they don't really
beasts.
understand why that's the case. They just learn that we should avoid that.
So they find out that if they crossbreed with Homs, that'll basically like nullify the gene
Right.
that causes them to mutate. So they make it a part of the royal family for the husband to be a consort with two wives. Yeah, I'd have a Homs consort and a High Entia consort. So and have children with both. And the reason they're doing that is they want to basically keep cross mixing High Entia with Homs to the point that the gene becomes completely eradicated.
For whatever reason,
Yes.
I don't think they ever make it clear to the royal family, because there's still like this classism of like you're not like a full-blooded High
Right.
Entia.
It's like this weird secret that they don't say why. The only one who knows is if you take the trial of the tomb.
Right.
And they give a specific date wherever how many generations. It's been like 800 generations or something, and they calculate within like 12 more generations the gene will be completely nullified out. Because one of the characters in Xenoblade 1 is the daughter of the head of the High Entia. He has two wives, which again, poly was a thing in Xenoblade 1 even.
Yeah. I know, right?
He has two wives, a Homs and a High Entia wife. The daughter with his Homs/human wife is a girl named Melia. She's 88 in the game.
Yeah,
But,
she's one of the main characters, one of your party members.
Right. And so their whole thing is they're doing this so they don't mutate into Telethia.
And I think she might be the first one. She is the point essentially where now that Telethia gene is gone. They
say in the game where she goes to do this, they have this thing called the Royal Tomb, and there's a scanner there, and it does a DNA scan on you, and it says like it'll be calculated within, I forget how many generations. It's like 6 to 12 generations after her, it should be completely eradicated.
But their generations are super fucking long.
Yeah, and so these people live like 500 years, and there's been like 800 generations of them. So do the math on that. So that's how long they've been trying to get rid of this Telethia gene, this mutagen in them. So that's what's happening. Anyways, at some point, a group of Homs explorers or whatever, they find the tomb where the Monado is.
And I think the important thing too is I believe this group of Homs were they led by Dixon?
Well, Dixon showed up after them, but he might have been the one to tell them where, because Dixon's always one. So Dixon, the ride or die bro of
who now looks like a human.
Who looks like
we love him very much. Yes,
he basically sends some search party into the mountains on the arm, and they find the resting place of the Monado, where the High Entia locked the Monado away. But they all die mysteriously.
They all
die mysteriously. And Dixon says their lone survivor of this expedition was I think he was 14 at the time.
He was pretty young.
Or was it a 4-year-old?
He looked very young.
He's a child. It's
basically a child.
One lone child.
Was the only one that escaped Lippy Dixon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although Dixon says like it was just pure coincidence. He does say that in the game. It could have been anyone. So Dixon kind of conveniently shows up after this expedition, finds this tomb, and finds the whole expedition dead in this basically this small little tomb, little whatever hidden place where the Monado is.
Except for this 4-year-old child name.
Yeah, this little kid. He finds a kid and he finds the Monado, and he brings them back to Colony 9, which is like on like the shin, like all the way down near like on the shin or the foot of the Bionis.
How the fuck are they living on
the thing doesn't move.
Right, but like the house is built onto the follicles of some leg hair. Like
it's a really big thing.
So here's the thing. He's not a perfect human figure. Like if you see like the molding of
he's kind of like, it's almost like it's like a a biological mechanoid in a lot of ways, right? And that, like, where one is like they're almost both kind of robotic looking, but one is made of living like tissue,
So
essentially.
there's horizontal spaces on the shin.
Basically,
Yes.
Okay.
There's a lot of horizontal, like a lot of horizontal, like just folds.
But by the way, this boy is named Shulk.
Shulk is the boy. Yes.
Shulk is the boy.
So
Okay.
Dixon finds this little boy with the Monado in this tomb that the High Intia
And
put
has he
the Monado.
interacted with the Monado yet? I can't remember.
Shulk hasn't, not at that point.
Okay.
He finds the boy, the lone survivor of this expedition, that found where the High Intia locked away the Monado after they pulled it away from Arglis, sealed Arglis away because Arglis attacked all the Mechon
Right.
and incited a
Massive war.
biological,
Yeah.
massive war between biological and mechanical beings. Because, and unbeknownst to all of them at the time, it's because Arglis
Is
Zanza and found the Monado, and Zanza's possessing his body.
Oh, is there something else we need to bring up with Egil or Eagle
Egil.
or something? Yeah, like his basically what ends up happening with his own personal intentions, what leads to is I think wasn't there a betrayal or something?
Right, he was best friends with Arglis.
Right. Yeah.
Him and Arglis were best friends. They lived they lived as bros, and then all of a sudden one day Arglis attacks and starts murdering all of his people.
Because
And this is-
Dixon slipped in.
Yeah, and this is essentially why even up to the present of the game, the Machina and the Homs are always in conflict with each other.
Yeah, like the robots periodically will attack humans, and like they basically will, like, it's just like a tug of war, like between, because remember, like when the giants froze, the Mechon sword was like did like a sideways chop into the side gut of the Bionis.
Yeah.
So they come across the big sword Valley, they call it, the sword of the Mechon. So like they'll cross along this big land bridge, and they're basically always fighting this border war between living and non-living things.
And it's essentially happened for so long that they don't even really know why they're doing it anymore. It's just like I
Yeah.
feel like, except for Egil is still the leader, right?
Right.
He will always essentially. I don't know if the same can be said for the Homs, because the problem is I think after a while it's more just that Egil.
Yeah, because Homs are just humans. They live a human lifespan, and after so long, they just don't even know. They just know robots bad.
Yeah.
They're just trying to kill us. And then,
Are they wrong? They're not wrong.
Maybe not.
well, Egil's kind of this is where I'm like, Egil's kind of an asshole, because it's like, okay, top 10 anime betrayal. My best friend betrayed me. I must now wipe out all living things.
Yeah.
Okay, buddy, sure. Like,
Bro.
like tone down the rhetoric here, man.
It's
Granted-
dramatic, but effective.
Granted, he doesn't really understand why Arglis did this. He just sort of assumes like this is the end game for all like biological creatures, is to eventually just they're going to destroy
Everything. So we must kill them all.
So we must kill them all. So, like,
But all the
okay.
Homs don't understand why they're being attacked all the time by these fucking robots, because obviously,
Yeah.
why would they fucking know that?
So Dixon finds the Monado and the boy, brings them back to the Colony 9, and then nobody can really wield this sword except this one guy called Dunban. So he's like this great warrior. So he can actually turn the blade on, and when it turns on, basically a big light beam comes out. So Dunban can do it. Not great, but like it definitely takes its toll.
It takes
on
a
him.
toll on his body. It basically destroys his arm.
Yeah.
It makes it almost unusable.
It's like using the Infinity Gauntlet, and it's like your arm gets
he gets all like super jacked up. So
Like-
it's like he's wielding it, and it's a super powerful weapon, and it's also seemingly the only thing capable of actually destroying the Machina.
right. Yeah, he can cut straight through them. He doesn't have to do any
Right.
sort of fancy like explosions or anything like that.
And that's
Like
the-
he could just cut straight through them.
They can't seem to. They have a hard time being able to do anything to the Machina. They're just like the material or something. Just they can't.
Yeah,
seem to
their
break
armor plating that the Machina are made out of is like it's very
it. So
hard.
it becomes their secret weapon.
Right. So Dunban, who's holding the sword, and like he fights he helps turn the tide of a big war or a big skirmish between the robots and the humans, if you will, because he can hold the Monado, and he can cut right through them. Egil sees this and is like, "Oh fuck!" Like, so, but Egil's also smart, and Egil's been around forever. So when anyone's holding, like when Dunban says holds the Monado, or anyone holds the Monado, and it gets the beam to come out, if you chop a human with it, it'll go right through them. It does not affect humans. It only damages mechanical. It'll cut through metal. It'll cut through, but biological life, the light beam will not affect biological life. It only cuts through metal.
Interesting.
So Egil figures this out pretty quickly, and within a year, he instigates an operation where he's like, "All right, I got an idea." So he starts capturing Homs, and then basically takes their bodies, like kills them, removes their organs, and then just has them as husks. And basically it brainwashes them. Initially, he keeps their brains intact. So he's just taking this husk that's like they just become part of and he puts them in giant mechon bodies. He's like, all right, I'm gonna make mechons that have human pilots or Homs pilots. So the Monado actually won't be able to cut them.
Yeah, it's kind of fucked up when you really think about it. I mean, like, it's not like they showed necessarily the ton of the process, but yeah, they're like basically dissecting and like reusing the bodies of these Homs while also still in a lot of ways taking their consciousness and just putting it into this metal body. And it's like, so it's bits of their own body mixed now with the Machina. So they become this weird hybrid.
Also, that the Monado can't cut through them.
Yeah.
Well, it can cut through the non-human parts, right?
No, because like he starts literally siphoning the ether of the human body and has it flowing. That's why they have these lights that like beaming around it. He like has it like they be like basically their body starts becoming like the blood life of these robotic bodies. So like
they're weird cyborg things,
right? He turns them into weird cyborgs to fight for them. But he's like he's kind of like mind controlling them a bit. And it's really messed up. And one of the first, not one of the first, but like well, I guess one of the first people he does is he takes one of Dunban's, because Dunban has like two best friends. One of them is Dixon, of course, and one is this guy called and then one is well, metal face. You know, they call him metal face in the game.
It's oh god damn it,
metal face.
Like no, what's
well, that's what the Homs call him.
To look it up.
Mumkar.
Thanks.
So Mumkar is like a guy who fights with claws or whatever. He's fighting with Dunban in the Great Battle of Sword Valley, where he brings out the Monado. He starts, going through waves and waves of Mechon. So the first person, Egil or someone sees Mumkar trying to flee the battle. So he grabs Mumkar. And
Mumkar's a bit. He's like, he kind of hates Dunban. Really, I think secretly he's a bit jealous of him.
Super jealous of him.
And so he sort of has this like kind of secret hatred of him. And at one point in the fight, like, it's like, oh, this overwhelming force comes at them, and Mumkar just flees like a little bitch, and he just seemingly gets killed.
But it's Egil noticing them, like, oh, this guy was running in full speed with Dunban. He's a friend of Dunban, so I could use that. But then he finds out that Mumkar doesn't even really like Dunban, so it kind of becomes win-win for Egil. So he becomes like the first of his big cyborg initiative or face initiative. They call it face because the giant robots that Mumkar pilots has a face like on it. Usually the robots are just like weird metallic blobs or just, they don't look humanoid in any way, shape, or form. But then they start giving them faces.
And they also they act almost as pilots of these giant, like essentially now the Mechon, now that they've become this weird hybrid cyborg thing, it allows them to like get inside of the cockpit of these of this new type of face armor, like so essentially Mumkar is now, he gets transformed into this. He looks like when you see what he actually looks like, which you don't see till much later in the game. Most of the time you just see him in this giant robotic form that for whatever reason can't seem to even be cut by the Monado. And that doesn't happen till later, but you see him die here, and the story doesn't reveal for the longest time who this enemy that we run into called Metal Face is.
But keeping it chronologically, like, as we're going along, okay, like Egil is like, okay, I need something that they have the Monado. They have found the Monado and they're now using the Monado. So he implements this new way to, I need to make machines that won't get like easily cut through from the Monado's blade, the beam. So that's why he has this really gruesome way of just taking Homs or any Homs that are like especially Hans that seem to have any sort of combat proficiency. He seems to focus on like he takes them
Right,
especially.
So
So-
without jumping into, because I don't know how detailed we want to get. Is this spoiling things for games, or is this?
Oh yeah, this game's already been spoiled. The game was spoiled at the beginning.
Okay, well then fine. I didn't know how detailed of questions. So okay, he takes these Homs, he makes these new enemy types. I'm assuming,
And I want to kind of also clarify, Machina are the sentient robots, and they usually have somewhat bipedal design usually.
which
And
that's
then
gonna come back.
they make and they make autonomous drone like things, like little four-legged things or flying things or hovered drones. And that's what most of the time, the Homs are fighting just these sort of like drones that are just sent out. Big
Right.
drones, little drones, like just sort of not sentient beings, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where the Machina are like the smart, they're the ones actually like making the decisions, commands, but they have like a sort of bipedal design. But you don't even know like in the game, you don't know that Machina even exist until way later. Like, oh wait, there's actually like a
Yeah, all you see are essentially the enemy like robots that they create. To
they're
fight
weapons.
and destroy the Homs.
they're autonomous weapons, and then you
Which-
find out that there is like a sentiency behind them. It's not just random machines just fighting. Like,
yeah.
So, anyways, just there is a distinction. Machina is the name of the sentient force that are making all the machines, and Egil is the
Okay.
head of them. Egil's the head of all the Machina, and so Dunban gets real wounded, but he's able to stop the advancement of all these machines in this big final stand he makes. Mumkar, they assume, is dead, but he's actually just been taken and been put into this whole, cyber initiative, if you will. And then so a year passes, and at this point in time, Shulk's 18. Dunban, hey, he has a little sister named Fiora, and he's kind of like, Fiora, Shulk.
He really
Yeah.
so pseudo.
He really wants to, he really hopes like Shulk and his
He's
sister
like, he wants his sister. He's like, dude, Shulk, please,
Yeah.
fuck my sister, son, please.
pretty much. He even has a whole conversation about it. Anyway,
Do it for me, Shulk. It's weird if I do it.
so a year after Dunban is holding wielding Minato, but like really screws up his arm doing it to stop a huge advancement of the machines. A year later goes by, things are sort of at peace. Then all of a sudden, a bunch of machines attack Colony 9 all the way down on the Shin. And
Colony 9 being basically the place where they're all living.
Where
This is
all-
like
most of the
and
humans
this is
are
where
living.
Shulk lives. And
So the machine sent an attack, and Metalface, which was Mumkar, Dunman doesn't know this yet, but it's like he used to be one of his best friends, is leading this assault on Colony 9.
he also doesn't talk in this. And I always thought,
Yeah.
I think the purpose that because this cutscene doesn't happen too long after the intro of the game. I always think the reason why he doesn't talk is because they don't want us to immediately connect. Oh wait, that's the guy we just saw get killed in the early cutscene.
Exactly, yeah.
So essentially, he comes in, he doesn't say anything, but he's not someone that can be hurt by
The Minato.
Minato.
And Shulk picks up it, and he's just like, I have to do something. So and then while their whole town is getting bombarded, Shulk just picks up the Minato and finds he can actually hold it
without taking damage like Dunban.
Yeah, without like screwing up his arm. But he also gets this other weird ability where like when he's holding it, he can literally see into the future. He gets visions of what'll happen, and he can react to it and change it. So, okay, that's really weird. But anyways, they're trying to fight back. He comes across Mumkar. He can't do anything to Mumkar because first Shulk is just chopping through all the machines that are attacking his hometown, and he's fighting back. And then all of a sudden, Mumkar jumps in, and he can't harm Metalface at all. And then Fiora tries to save Shulk, and Metalface literally just guts
Fiora
Fiora.
hops in like a little. They have like little like the Homs have their own like little robots that they've tried to make to fight the
little
them.
tanks, really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
little like, to fight them, but it's not effective. And basically, Metalface just destroys the rush she's in and kills her.
Yeah, and then a bunch
So-
of other little machines like jump on,
Yeah.
and they're basically they're like chewing up her body. And then he immediately, and then right after that, you see him get a call to return. So all the robots then just leave. So what's happening here is that Egil's sister is basically she decides she's going to make a physical body for Mayneth, because Arglist was what Zanza possessed. So
They're gonna do the same thing, like an avatar.
right, so they're going to make an avatar for Mayneth. So Egil's sister, who's in charge of what they call Project Nemesis or whatever, she's like, "Oh, this girl that they gobbled up, in this fight, she'll make a good body for Mayneth, for Lady Mayneth."
No.
So she puts Mayneth's consciousness in Fiora's whole husk of a body,
and makes her into essentially a face that is like what Mumkar was.
Yeah.
So she also has a mechanical biological body that is inside of a giant suit of like robotic armor.
Right. Shulk doesn't know this is happening.
We don't know. To everyone in the game, for the longest point, you think she's dead, and this is what essentially her death is what then spawns like Shulk. Okay, well, I can use the Monado now, and I need to avenge.
So Shulk goes on a big revenge spree. He's like, I'm going to find that metal-faced Mechon, and I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kill every one of them. For
with a weapon that doesn't hurt him.
Yeah. Also, Shulk has a friend named Ryan. He's a big dumb tank of a dude who's a bro.
He
nice guy, super nice guy. He basically is like always there because Shulk just consistently is like never telling anybody anything, and Ryan's like, dude, you need to tell us shit, and Shulk's like, okay, but then he doesn't, and it happens like the entire game.
It's like Shulk is like afraid. I'm like, if I tell people I have visions of the future and they come true, like people think I'm crazy, and they tell him and then after he's proven it, they tell him, all right, let us know next time you have one of those, and he doesn't. It's like
it's kind of maddening, but
it is maddening because they keep telling him and he keeps ignoring them.
Anime,
right?
So anime.
The rest of the plot of Xenoblade 1 falls through. Dunban and Dixon follow behind Shulk and Ryan and meet up eventually, and then join up for a little bit. Dixon then goes off and does his own thing.
Now the rest of this is like a lot of that was the nitty gritty details, and now the rest of it's just kind of like a fun world romping adventure of going from town to town, meeting new characters with their own motivations, while Shulk is getting acclimated to his crazy future seeing powers. He also discovers that he can actually change the future, essentially.
Yeah.
He can see, for example, the death of somebody that is Juju, this is for you. Sorry.
I see this one guy like killing himself in a battle, and he stops him from doing it.
It's become a meme a bit in the community, and especially between Simmons and I, because you hear him say it like 3 times in the game where Shulky's having the same vision. He's like, oh God, that old man. And he's like, every time you see him, he's like falling down into a pit, pointing a gun and he's like, Juju, this is for you, Papa. And so he keeps seeing his death. And they keep showing that cutscene. He's like, oh, is there any way I can stop it? He does. He essentially, somehow through his own like great desires and whatever, he shatters fate and manages to save this old man that should have died. And so that's what is an interesting part. It actually plays into the gameplay too, where you'll see like an enemy is about to do a big attack that could kill you. Yeah. If you like adjust your tactics, you can essentially prevent that from happening.
So the real core crux of what really happens for the rest of Xenoblade 1 is eventually on his journey up to the top, because he wants to travel up to the sword, cross the sword, go over to the Mechonis body, kill all the fucking robots and. Right. That's just his goal all along the way up.
Response to losing your first love.
Yeah. On the way up, he finds Melia, who's the daughter of the Emperor of the Hyentia, and she's half Hyentia.
Even before that, though, she also runs to a person named Sharla, but she's not important at all.
But she's not important at all, really.
And that's the unfortunate thing is that when you really look at this game, where you're like, these characters are great, but then you realize most of them don't matter, including Ryan. He's a great little buddy, but he's really not. He doesn't really have any say of his to the story other than telling Shulk how wrong he is for like keeping everything to himself.
All my favorite characters are characters like that. They have their own little.
Yeah, because the thing is like early on they come across Juju, who's like this little kid, and his big sister Sharla. She was from Colony 6, which was on the knee, so from shin to knee. And then that's the old man Otheron, who says he keeps having the vision of him dying. Anyways, Sharla's betrothed disappeared in an effort to retake their
a
colony.
guy by the name of Galdo.
Yeah, Gatto, and then Gatto gets turned into he
also gets turned to robot, so that turns into
he's another face, Jade Face. He's another one of the robots you find later.
Other than her being betrothed to this guy, there's no connection for her.
And that's like halfway through the game.
Her and Ryan hook up.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Ryan. So then he dies. It's like, oh no, but then Ryan and her kind of get a thing, and you're like, okay,
yeah.
So
and then
I know you want this dick, Ryan. Stop.
After meeting Melia, Shulk actually comes into contact with Alvis. And Alvis is a seer because Alvis can see into the future as well. And he serves the royal family of the Hyentia.
And unlike every other character around him, he also, for some reason, why is it he can actually wield the Monado?
Yeah, you get this thing where like Alvis actually grabs hold of the Monado and kills a Telethia. And it's like, how the hell can you? Granted, like technically Alvis made the Monado.
Right.
Yeah, with all this information we're giving you, this is stuff that if you're as a player you wouldn't know, but having it now makes sense. Well, obviously he'd be able to use it because he is like the creator.
So he meets Melia. They go to the capital of the Hyentia, Alchemoth, and then there's this whole unplot of basically the wife, the pure-blooded Hyentia wife wants to kill Melia. He does not want her to be the next empress.
She wants to reign.
She's also actually
she's also crazy.
But that's unknown. That's another twist. But anyways, like she's full-blooded. It's like Muggles and purebloods or whatever. So she wants a pure-blooded. So she wants a pureblood. So she basically tries to do this thing where she's going to send Melia on a suicide mission, and just to make sure she's going to have an assassin go out there and kill her, just to doubly make sure Melia dies and doesn't inherit the throne, but Shulk and co stop that from happening. That's how you find out about the whole plot of the Hyentia royal family had secretly been trying to crossbreed, and that's why all the emperors have two consorts, of Hyentia and Homs. So you find out that whole plot line. But why? Okay, but why is that whole plot line even a thing? Well, here's the thing: is because remember how we said Telethia are like white blood cells,
right?
Alvis is a disciple of Zanza. Dixon's a disciple of Zanza. They are basically little fingering this entirely so that the Telethia can all happen. So that everyone's going to also all the Hyentia are going to morph into Telethia and they're going to restart. And they're going to keep the cycle going. They're basically trying to speed up the cycle.
They're trying to get them all jacked up and turn into Telethia and murder everybody. And that again, this is why again I like Alvis as a character because he is the ultimate neutral party. He is not a good guy. He's not a bad guy. He is
just kind of doing his job.
Right. He is still basically following his prerogative. There is just essentially the only thing that holds him back and why he isn't making choices. He is essentially allowing other people to help make choices that might correct things. And he keeps essentially relies on Shulk. He keeps asking him questions throughout this big journey where he just will show up and be like, what is it that you want to do, Shulk? How would you see the world in this grand narrative? And that's and it sort of morphs over time as Shulk learns the truth and understands what his actual purpose in the story is. So, so I personally very much like Alvis. He's a very, very good neutral kind of character. That's again, you're going to see him times and be like, what the fuck? He's helping the bad guy,
right. And then basically Shulk had this vision of Prison Island. And so eventually he just wants to go there, and he gets to Prison Island eventually, and he oopsie daisy, he finds Arglus, who says he is Zanza. He says he is the does he say he's the creator of the Monado in that point? Yes, he does. Yeah. He says he's the creator of the Monado. Well, and similarly, he also wants to the idea is that he wants to make because at this point he can't actually hurt Mumkar, he can't hurt Metalface or any of them. Right. He needs it's in hopes of unleashing the power of the Monado in order for Shulk to be able to beat the enemy. Let the shackles be released. So Zanza basically tells him, "Hey, okay, Shulk, look, let me help you out here. This is how you unlock the true potential of Monado. Basically, you flip this switch, do that thing here, Control Alt Delete." So it basically tells them oh no, you can kill biological things with the Monado. You just have to know how. So because Shulk foils the assassination attempt on Melia's life. Melia joins with him. Shulk says, I keep having this vision of Prison Island. I need to go to Prison Island. So they let him go to Prison Island. And they go there and they find, okay, this Arglist is there. They unlock, or they basically find Arglist chained up there. And like, he's this giant in Zanza's body. And Zanza basically tells him what to do. And it's at this point, Mumkar, who's a general for the machines. He's a general for Egil, who's technically on Lady Mayonnaise' side. They give him they make like this big spear made out of with a pure ether tip, and he kills Arglist. He throws it down and kills him. So he's like, all right, Arglist is dead. Basically he's following the order of Egil, who's like, kill Zanza. Zanza betrayed me. So you think he's dead. Well, Arglist is dead. Not Zanza.
Not Zanza.
But guess who was holding the Monado? When Zanza inside Arglist told him how to unlock its true potential.
Ooh, sweet Dixon.
Shulk.
Shulk is holding it. Okay.
Shulk's holding the Monado when Arglist tells him how
I thought it was going to be a Rise of the Dixon. When does Dixon get his moment?
Oh,
way later.
Way later.
All right. So Shulk has the unlocked Monado now.
Yes, the funny thing about Dixon is Dixon. I think Alvis is a great neutral party. Dixon and his inevitable heel turn is a very bad example of how to have a character. He's seemingly Dixon just seems like he's a bit of a curmudgeon, but he's kind of always looking out for everybody. And then he has a very strange character, like almost 180s, something he's just somebody totally different. And it doesn't really make any sense.
It's a little wonky.
It doesn't come out very smoothly, but yes, he kills Arglist, and his body is now dead. But now Zanza, having already told him how to unlock the power of the Monado, now Shulk is able to suddenly kick and cut through metal.
Unbeknownst to Shulk, who's holding the Monado when he unlocks the true potential of it, just like Arglist was when he first picked it up off the ground. Guess who Zanza's inside now?
Okay. This is what I was asking you about earlier, because I had read up on it where I was like, so Zanza's also Shulk? Okay.
At this point, unbeknownst to Shulk, because Zanza doesn't immediately possess him.
He doesn't.
Zanza's just hiding. He's in wait. And Dixon is making sure that Shulk keeps going on his Mechanist killing spree.
Yeah, because technically right now what Shulk wants to do is yeah, man, this is kind of what I want to do too. He's got the motivation. All he needs to do is go fucking over there and kill everybody like he wants to. So just let him do his thing. Why? I don't need to do anything. So
he waits for Shulk to get all the way over to, well, Shulk gets on the sword because he sees Nemesis, and he sees that the person piloting the Nemesis is Fiora, but Fiora has no idea who he is because it's Maynith or Galea inside Fiora's body, literally controlling her husk of a body. So Shulk is obsessed with trying to get her to remember or whatever. He gets to Sword Valley. They have a big fight. Metal Face. Mumkar dies, unfortunately.
Yeah, and this is the part where we all agree. This is the part of the story where things kind of don't get as good. Everything's pretty great because Metal Face is easily probably the best antagonist of this game. He's cheesy, he's hokey, he's got wonderfully quotable lines, but the moment he dies, that energy kind of goes away because all that's left is now Egil, technically Dixon, and also Zanza, and it's and they're just not quite as compelling or again, Egil.
Mumkar doesn't mind being a villain. He's just
evil for it. He's just I don't give a shit. I love killing things so much.
I love this body.
Yeah, I love this body. Like a hot knife through butter.
Yeah, he taunts Shulk, talking about how good it felt to stab Fiora, and kill her and stuff.
Yeah, it's just he's a dumb fun.
He's
villain.
Cartoonish.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Yeah. Okay,
he's great, but unfortunately, so Shulk, he meets Sharla. They, Ryan and Sharla start to bud their thing. Then he goes up Dixon leads him up to.
Dumban is with them too, by the way. He came in and he helps them at some point.
Yeah. So
he uses his other arm that he wasn't all jacked
the non-fapping arm.
Yeah, essentially. And he uses a sword, and just because Dunban's just that big of a badass.
Yeah. Dixon leads them up up the lower back, up to the top, up to the upper half of the body. They meet Melia. They help Melia out. They prevent Melia from getting assassinated in her own little political shadow game. Melia, or the Emperor, because she's not Empress.
Oh, also Ricky's there. They run into a Nopon named Ricky. He doesn't really matter.
Those are the
anyway.
Moogles of the game.
Yeah, they're basically the little cuddly fat little furry dudes who used to sell that merch.
Yeah.
Merch.
Again, he doesn't matter like almost at all, but he's nice. He's just a big fat little goober head.
Yeah. So they stop this political shadow game from happening, and the High-Entia, in thanks and return, let Shulk go to Prison Island that he's having visions of. He meets Arglist, who's completely possessed by Zanza, who teaches him how to unlock the true potential Monado, which basically soul transfers Zanza back into Shulk.
Arglist's body is killed
by Mumkar. And then Shulk, after Arglist gets killed, Shulk is just kind of like, well, I'm going to continue my mission because he's seen Nemesis. He wants to find Nemesis.
And Nemesis being the body of Fiora. Fiora has the consciousness of Maneth in her. Fiora is basically Fiora. They recognize, they're like, oh my god, it's Fiora. She's alive, but she doesn't know who we are. What the fuck? So they go chasing after her.
He chases after her. They go down the arm. The arm that's holding the blade in its side. Go down the arm. They get into a confrontation with Mumkar for a little bit, and then they chase him onto the sword in Sword Valley. They have a fight. Mumkar dies.
Mumkar is defeated.
He dies, and then Shulk gets into a fight again with Fiora, but then Egil now steps in, because you meet Egil on the arm when he's chasing Fiora down.
Okay.
And then Egil is just kind of like, you who with him now, come to the Mechonis. You're most welcome there. Anyways, they get into a fight on the sword.
Oh, also, technically, again, this is the part where Galdo, technically Charlotte, this is where Charlotte's little plot line's like, oh no, Galdo's here, and he's also a metal face.
I don't think you see Galdo till the Mechonis.
I thought haven't we gotten there yet? Oh, we're not gotten there yet.
You don't see him till he starts climbing the Mechon.
Yeah, I thought, have we not gotten there yet? Wait,
no.
When does Egil show up again?
Egil shows up on the arm, because like after Prison Island.
Oh, yeah, he does.
After Arglist dies, they go onto the arm where Fiora is like having these like, who is this boy? Why is something's weird about? I need to talk to him. So she sneaks out from the Mechon Titan, and Metalface Mumkar sees this, so he follows her. And then they have a confrontation, a fight or whatever. And then Egil shows up like, what the hell's going on here, kind of thing. And he's just like, he just takes the body of Fiora back, and him and Mumkar are like, he's like, come find me. Come find me.
Come find me up the top of the or something.
So you just continue forward, go down the sword where Dunban had that big last stand fight,
and now you're over. Now we've transported from Bionis. We are now over in the mechanical city of Mechonis.
Well, kind of, because you go on the sword. You have a fight with Egil, and then Shulk and Fiora fall down.
Oh, that's right. No,
they literally fall
I
into the ocean.
That's right.
And they wash up on. Okay, remember when I said at the beginning he cuts her arm off?
Yeah.
The Titan cuts the other Titan's arm. They fall down into the ocean, and they basically wash up on the arm that's just been sitting there like this on the ocean.
Yeah, there's an entire town down there.
So, well, it's a big robot arm.
Yeah.
And life is like grown all over, like palm trees and sand and grass and stuff.
But yeah, they up in Sword Valley, they climb that, and that's where that where Godot fights? Or
Godot is on the body. Well, so Shulk and Fiora actually have a conversation. So you find out that Fiora's consciousness was actually still there.
Yeah.
But she had no control over the body. Maneth was actually controlling the body entirely, and she was an observer, like in a coma, just watching Maneth make all these decisions.
Ooh, which means Arglist has been probably sitting there.
Probably, yeah.
Arglist
that poor fucking dude.
Yeah, that guy.
That dude's like, I'm free now.
Immediately stabbed. So
So
you find out that the consciousnesses of the Homs were not entirely erased. The reason for that is because his first project, Mumkar, was like totally cool with it. So he was like, all right, cool. That's a step I don't need to take.
I don't need to worry about anything. Yeah.
I don't need to take that extra step. And then, so you on the arm, they find a peaceful colony of Machina, robot people, who are just kind of like, we don't want to have anything to do with anything. We don't want to be part of your war. We're completely disconnected from from everything living down on this arm at the on the ocean all the way at the bottom here. And like we have no we don't have any we have no dog in this fight, right?
Yeah.
And then you find Egil's dad down there technically. And and Egil's dad's like, I need you to kill my son.
I need to kill this guy. He's kind of gone off the deep end.
Yeah, Egil's
He's
dad is like,
fucking
I've tried
fool.
like we tried everything. We tried to ration with this guy for everything, but he is not rational.
And
There
his
is no
sister
rationing.
is also down there, right?
Sister's on the.
Oh wait, no, yeah, she's up
Linnea
above, yeah.
is with Egil. He's just like, I was like, if you can meet Egil's sister, she's level headed. You can maybe talk to her, but I need you to climb up the Mechonis and I need you to kill my son because he's not going to stop. Basically, like my son will not stop. I've tried everything. We've tried everything. He is hell bent on killing all life on the Bionis. So
At this point, too, Fiora is now also part of your party. Like she's returned
in a cybernetic body,
robot
body,
So-
like a human head. Still.
and she still technically has Maneth in her, but she's like it's almost like two people in one. But
Yeah.
she's mostly like when she's with you, she's mostly Fiora. Maneth will only come out when necessary.
Yeah.
So,
Like you'll see, like her eyes, like
yeah,
change
her
colors
eyes like
and-
turn like glow, and that's what
Yeah.
she's made of.
So you climb. So then from the foot, from the bottom, from the fallen arm, you cross a little bridge over onto the robot body. Climb up there, and then they climb up the robot body. They
Yeah.
meet Gatto. who's
Fucking
Jade
fuck
Face.
this that, but also just fuck this part of the game.
However, at this part too, because Egil saw how Maneth was having second thoughts about killing Shulk, Egil's like, okay, I should have completely zapped their consciousness.
Mhm.
He's like, I made a mistake. I didn't completely wipe all their memories. So he tries to then wipe Jade Face, which was Gatto, Charla's betrothed. So he tries to wipe his memory completely. He's like, all right, faces need to be completely robotic. I can't like they need to have that human body, but they can't have conscious anymore.
And again, Jade Face, that's Godot. That's his robot form.
Yeah.
Name, right?
Huh.
So as you climb up there, you fight Gatto, you stop him. Like eventually he does pull his conscious back, even though they tried to shock it out.
And then he remembers, and it's like, and Charles like, oh my god, my plot point is dying. No. And then she dies, and now Charlotte's story's done forever. Pretty much.
Not real
Beautiful ending.
Yeah.
Charlotte and Ryan have a beautiful.
Yeah, they have sex, but that's it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's a good moment too when Ryan talks to him and whatever. But
Yeah, I mean it's good, but like this is again, we are now approaching the point in the story where most of the characters that are not Shulk and Fiora and some of the other bad guys are just done. They're just done for the rest of it. They're just kind of along for the ride. So
most of the characters are at this point. And so you get to the point where like Shulk he gets all the way to Egil, and he's fighting Egil, and you fight him, and he has like a big robot mech he pilots, and you kill that, and then you fight him on mano a mano.
and Shulk is trying to convince him to
Shulk's trying to do the whole anime talk no jutsu. I'm gonna like make him see, I'll make him see, the power, power friendship of his ways.
Yeah.
And Egil gets this one cool line where he like essentially Shulk takes the Monado and like stabs it into his fucking hand or something, and it like cuts down on it, and he's like, just like again, Taco Jutsu at him, and then the music starts to kick in, and Egil's like, your blade didn't cut deep enough. It's like, okay, that was kind of cool. And at that point, what happens after that?
Well, so you fight Egil. Shulk's trying to ration with him. He's just like, yeah, your blade didn't cut deep enough. And then at this point, Dixon then kills Shulk. He shoots Shulk and kills Egil. Shoots through. They're both dead at this point. And that's when Dixon reveals his heel.
Oh yeah,
because Dixon's
wait, no. Technically, he gets back in the robot. I think they fight one last time, and then finally, I think Shulk is like they get a point to an understanding, don't they?
Right. Yeah.
Like, finally, Shulk they talk it out, and I think also his sister is there too. That also
you do find Egil's sister, who's like, look, my brother's psycho. I'm going along with it, but like I'm actually with you guys. I'd like to stop.
Yeah,
this.
she wants to stop her brother, and I think there's a point now. Like, okay, oh, that's right. Shulk's gonna do it. He's gonna kill him, and now he's gonna get his revenge. Let's go. But then Shulk's like, no, I can't do it.
That was with Mumcar.
Is it?
Yeah.
Was it with Mumcar?
That's with Mumcar. Because Dunban wants.
Oh, that's right.
Dunban wants to kill.
Because he realizes he's part.
He's like, I can't. There's a human in
there. But But again, he gets to a point where he's gonna spare. I think
He's
Egil,
gonna spare.
right?
Well, he was gonna spare Egil, yes.
Yeah, and so
That's why
like,
Dixon has the heel turn.
and this is where suddenly Dixon, who's been basically your buddy for like the most of the game, like generally, it just suddenly is just like, all right, fuck off, and pulls out his gun and shoots fucking Shulk dead. Boom, main character drops fucking dead.
Dixon
and now,
goes full Sephiroth and has a
yeah, and Egil's like, what the fuck is going on? And Dixon, yes, reveals who he truly was. Yes, I was the disciple of Zanza, fuckers.
He was waiting for Shulk to kill off Egil.
Yeah,
because Egil was like the last part, and like the last obstacle in his way.
But because Shulk decided to pussy out in the end, he's like, man, fuck this. So he kills Shulk. Shulk's dead, and now Zanza takes control of Shulk's body.
Yeah, Zanza, like holding the Monado, Zanza then like basically materializes himself finally.
And becomes like, I mean, he gets all majestic looking. His,
he has like
all
this
fucking,
really gaudy,
yeah, like he's like,
like,
damn, look how fucking hot I am. I got
everything.
like all this shit coming off me, and I got my sword is all sick looking, and
I got medals for wars I never fought in.
And I believe he fights Egil in this moment and like beats him.
Yeah, Egil dies too, and then Maineth takes over the body of Fiora, and they have a fight, and then Maineth dies.
Yeah, he essentially is, but Fiora does not. It's like
Fiora does not, but like basically the soul of Maineth gets killed.
Yeah, and she also, if I remember right, she in that moment also has her own Monado, and she
brings out her Monado. So
and
there's like
they're like clashing and like
Yeah.
God on God. It's like whoa, look
So
at, they're like flying in the air, like
the fight is back on between Maineth and Zanza, or Galea and Klaus, and Klaus wins, and basically Klaus is like he then takes Maineth's Monado, so he has, or Zanza has Maineth's Monado, so he has both Monados now. So he's like, oh, excellent,
double the Monado.
And he's like, all right, time to execute, Project Rebirth. So he starts mass mutating all the Hyentia immediately once he has both Monados. Starts mass mutating all the Hyentias into
And this shit gets fucking weird. You start seeing some. It just starts getting like kind of some like body horror stuff. Like you see, Melia's brother. That is like, essentially starts to fucking just turn. It's like, it starts like transforming into fucking Telethio, the weird like green like tendrils and stuff.
I'm
and
sorry.
Like,
does the game end on a downer where
everyone just dies in the end, and that's the end of the game.
Well, Melia's thing is a bit of a downer because like all of the vast majority of her people start mutating into Telethia.
I think just technically her brother tried to like stop like the evil mom or something, her not mom.
Yeah,
or something.
like
and then the mom fuses with the brother.
Yeah, it gets gross.
It gets really weird. Like essentially the mom is like, yes, this is gonna be fucking awesome. And then like the brother's like, I gotta stop you. Like tries to kill her and like stabs her or something. And then she's like morphing, and then he morphs into her, and there's like
it's very blob.
Oh no, stepmom.
Yeah, it's like and Melia's watching this like, what the fuck? And it's like just it starts getting it gets gnarly. Okay.
So leading into the next game, it's all downer. How does
no,
this
we're
connect
not done
lore?
We're not
Okay.
quite done yet.
Okay.
No, so basically like Shulk is not dead. But Zanza's been exorcised.
So Zanza, he gets a new form and he leaves Shulk. Like his body has now left. He's left the shell that is Shulk, and essentially he still looks like Shulk, essentially, and sounds like Shulk. But he's like flying around, and what's left is now just like this dead body. It's just.
And I think they take the body down back to the Fallen Arm because they have like a like super technologically advanced like repair pod, and they like piece his body back together, and the consciousness that was Shulk is able to be rejuvenated. So Shulk's alive now, but he's no longer Zanza. He doesn't have Zanza.
I can't remember. Does he get like is the Monado that he has, like how did that work? Do they give him, is that when they give him, do they give him like a fake Monado?
Yeah, he has like the Machina build like some like basically like makeshift thing for him.
It's like not the real Monado, but it's like something that will still allow him to be able to like
has like a high ether density kind of thing. So they're basically like, I don't even know what we do at this point. though the funny thing is that at this point in the game, with all the high into turning into Telethia, and the Telethia basically trying to turn all the living life into liquid ether, which will then the goal, Zanza's ultimate goal, is to basically revive the giant body of the Bionis itself, like repossess his original form completely. But he needs enough ether to rejuvenate the Bionis and so he can move it again. Re-inhabit
He wants
that.
that big D back.
He wants his big D. He wants his big D back. So
I get it.
so that's where the plot is now at this point. So at this point, all those robots, machines are now on your side.
Yeah, and this is kind of cool. Like the story essentially turns from it's like the humans versus the machines, and now it's like, oh wait, now there's this evil god that is kind of gonna kill all of us. Maybe
Humans
we
and
should be
machines
friends.
versus God.
Yeah,
Right.
We go back to a lot of religious or philosophy here, where God
So-
creates man, man kills God, man
Yeah,
creates
and-
machine.
and the idea too, and this is like the probably the biggest theme of this game in particular is we want a world without gods, where gods
Right.
are
So
necessary.
basically, like Prison Island then sinks into the core inside
Gross.
inside the Bionis. So you have to go into the Bionis and you literally see like all
the
the
insides and shit.
all the cells and platelets and all this other gooey stuff.
All
And
like its organs.
that's
and
where
like doo doo and shit.
that's
It's
where you
fucking-
see like on the heart, like you give like the Bionis like a heart attack. Like you see like the melding of the royal family of the Telethia all molded together.
Yeah,
and,
it's like
the heart. And so like you go all the way back to Prison Island, which is on the inside of the Bionis at this point.
You go down there, you fight an incredibly obnoxious boss fight.
Yes. And then you get back to
Which is
Prison
tough,
Island, and Dixon's the last guy standing in front of you. That's where he's just like, "Hey man, I'm ride or die." And
He's like, I love my bro, and that's
Yeah.
when he turns back into his original giant form.
Yeah.
And he fights you. You beat his ass, and then he just like, and probably maybe a pretty cool moment where he's just like, "Man, fuck you! I'm not gonna give you the fucking courtesy of kicking my ass. Get your bitch ass out of here, Shulk." And
He
Shulk's
didn't
like,
just go. He's just
like-
like
and then that so they like walk away, and he's like, "I'm not gonna let you see me die." And he fucking smokes a cigarette and fucking dies. And I'm
yeah,
just
it's like he didn't want to see Shulk. He didn't want Shulk to see him die. He tells him, like, he tries to tell him, like, you know what, I know when I'm beat. I'm not going to die pointlessly. You go on. And then he's like, damn, that kid hit I didn't want him to see me die.
yeah.
And then he dies. But so at this
It's just
point,
they sort of care, and they still care about.
so
him.
and this is where it gets weird because where Shulk goes on Prison Island after this is basically space. Like
the universe.
it's a recreation of what no one really knows. This is the recreation of what Klaus remembers. He's going into like a sort of like memory stage.
And the whole time while he's out here in space, this is where we get kind of a bit of an exposition dump. And Alvis, who has now revealed himself, I am not a human or whatever. I am a computer.
Right. Well, he does that after the fight, where it's
You're
like
right.
you go to Prison Island, and then like you're going to where you think Zanza is, and you start walking through like this pathway through our solar system. No one has any idea what these are, right? It'll say, like on the screen, it'll say Saturn, Jupiter. You walk by Jupiter and like the big storm cloud and everything, and it's just and Shulk has no idea. He's like, what is that big ball of water? They have no idea what any of this is, but it's all just a sort of ethereal room. It's a room made from Klaus's memories from before that even he may not remember. So he fights Klaus. They have a fight, and Shulk wins. He kills Zanza, and he does it by a third pulling out getting a third Monado
Yes.
from Alvis.
And that's because Alvis basically, after he reveals himself to be like this supercomputer that has been essentially observing the world and silently helping guide Shulk to the places where he needs to be, he asks him this one question. Well, if you had control of the world, what would you do? Well, like, how do you see the world continue? Should we continue this cycle of stagnation and rebirth and like destruction and rebirth, so on? Or is there a way to evolve past this and reach a new state of being and stuff? And Shulk's like, but I don't want to be a god. Like, I have no desire to be a god of this world. And his friends were like, yeah, because you're a big dum-dum, And he's like, oh, you guys. And so that's like the idea is they want to make a world where there's just no gods. We're not dealing with this bullshit. So
Yeah, Shulk's wish, because he has a third Monado now, and Zan's is dead, Mayneth's dead, so Galea is gone, Zan's is gone, Ka's gone, and Shulk's the only one now left who has his own Monado now, and he can control the ether, which
he's a god. He can do whatever he wants.
And he's just like, what we want is a world without gods. So he restarts. They do a restart, but every living person that Shulk ever knew gets reborn, or just like put back to where, but pre-mutation of the Telethia. Everyone that Shulk knows, and he basically like, okay, just put it down the world. There's no gods. I don't want anyone controlling anything. No Monado.
And again, the person enacting that's Alvis, the computer. That is
Alvis. Is like, all right, you're the administrator.
Right. You are now the administrator. I will follow through on your desire.
So the world that they come out of, or after this, is like all the pieces of the Bionis are now just like floating on top of the ocean. It's no longer this body. It's just like, the head's laying there. They are like legs over there. And it's just like normal. It's closer to a normal landmass, right? And they're like, okay, cool. The world will now go forward with no gods. There's no gods hidden or waiting. There's no, power of creation waiting for rebirth or whatever. We just want things to play out naturally. We want the world and the universe to go forward the way it's supposed to, naturally.
And Fiora is now also back in her Hom's body.
Though there is a side quest that talks about how they did that, though, where like they in a lab regrow her organs.
Yeah, they essentially like put her back together and turn her back into human again.
So how does so obviously the 3 Monados continue to exist, and they must be important to the rest of the games.
No, Alvis kind of takes them for himself. Because Shulk doesn't want it. He gives it up. He literally like symbolically and physically throws it away.
So to wrap up the episode, how does this connect? Because if there's thousands of years between games, does that mean that when we're moving into Xenoblade 2 to set it up?
So 1 year later, there's a little thing called the epilogue, called Future Connect. And 1 year after Shulk gives up the power of being a god and resets his planet to being like no Bionis, no Mechonis, just land on ocean. Like,
I don't know. Should we talk about this? Because this almost ties more to 3 than it does 2.
Well, 1 year later, Shulk and Melia discover the capital, Alchemoth, where the High Entia used to live, is on this hovering piece of land that's for some reason hovering. Anyways, it's Bionis' shoulder, what was his shoulder. And because they were living in a big hovering city. And they find it, and they're like, oh, Alchemoth, that's where Melia's, all the Entia people used to live. We should go, reclaim the city, move back in or whatever. So they take this airship called the Junks that you use in the original game, and they fly up to the Bionis' shoulder, where they go to the city where Alchemoth used to be, and all of a sudden there's this weird rift in the sky, and this weird rift spews forth this black fog, and it starts and it corrupts everything it touches, and out of the black fog comes this really weird beast. They call it the Fog King, which in British slang sounds real funny when they're like the Fog King. I'm like, the what?
What?
So there's this whole thing where there's a whole little story where Melia gets up to the shoulder where Machina, High Entia, and Homs had a little bit, were all living in this little settlement up there. They had a dispute. There was a split. They have to bring them together, get the 3 races to harmonize it, and then retake Alchemoth, their capital, which is infested with these fog beasts. And when there's like this big rift, and the rift in the sky keeps getting wider and wider. So Shulk and Melia form this plan to help close the rift and stop these weird fog beasts from coming out.
Boy, it'd be really useful for doing this. Fucking Monado.
Hell yeah, bro.
Yeah, right. Because he has this thing called the Monado Rex. It's a big mechanical thing, which is just like a really high concentrated ether. And so you have to build it in the epilogue. You have to like build this special sword to deal with it because he can't. he has no visions of the future anymore. He can't use any of his abilities. And interestingly, which I thought was interesting, in the epilogue there are Telethia still, but they were the Telethia that existed prior to the big mass mutation in the original game. And for some reason, the Telethia are trying to close the rift themselves. They're just flying into it, like just like dive bombing into this rift. Anyways, it's the whole plot of the epilogue is Shulk and Melia together find a way to close this rift
and destroy the Fog King.
So the real question now is, what was that rift? What were these things coming out of it? Where did that come from? Uh-oh. What is that? And what connection does that have? The epilogue's called Future Connected. So what connection will that have in the next Lorecast?
And you'll find out next time.
On that note, we've got some producers to thank. If you're interested in becoming a patron at any level, please check out patreon.com/YoVideogames podcast. Due to the week, again, was Oxzer. Thank you, Oxzer. And our producers for this episode are Dragon Wolf Makoto, Austenite, Zybernite, Screwnomi, Croy35, HyperViper89, Hockey Kong 64, LCL Mayhem, ZZ. Thank you, Nico, for being on this episode. And we'll catch you next time.
It was fun.
Later, dudes.
Bye.
See you guys.